two of her brothers.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing today? Here I am in Kettering, Ohio. Kettering, Ohio, which is a suburb of Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, located just above Cincinnati, and it's a beautiful day. I'm on a street called Pope Street, Popes and Olson, and this is a small little neighborhood. It's beautiful. It's a busy little road. I was surprised. Lots of cars going by. It's a beautiful day here, but I'm going to take you back to February 7th, 1999. And I'm going to tell you a story about a little girl named Erica Baker. And Erica disappeared from the house. She left this house right here, right in front of me. We're going to go take a look at it. And I get contacted every now and again by people wanting me to tell their story about a loved one, either a grave visit or a true crime, things like that. And a gentleman contacted me by the name of Greg Baker. And Greg Baker is Erica's father, and he's right here with me.
How you doing, folks?
And Greg, your daughter, 24 years ago,
Yeah.
24 years ago, disappeared without a trace.
Yes.
And we're gonna go to the house. I'm gonna switch the camera around right on you. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions right now.
Okay.
So we've been hanging out a bit. We've gotten to know each other. Yeah. And so, Greg, tell me. We're going to show the house right here. This was the house that your daughter was living in.
That is correct. She was here with her mom and her grandma. That weekend that she went missing, she was with me on a visitation day up at my dad's house in Heber Heights, and we came home a little early because we were actually supposed to go that evening to a father-daughter dance, and unfortunately the tickets sold out before I could even get a hold of them, and we were on a waiting list, and she was kind of upset that she didn't get to go, so she wanted to come home. So I dropped her off early and went back to the house in Heber Heights, and that's when the tale of events started, where she was kind of getting bored and restless with her mom, I could take it, and did something that she never did. Was they ended up taking their dog Shih Tzu for a walk. Well, she ended up going up towards the rec center, which is not far from here, where the actual father-daughter dance was going to be held.
Wow.
Yep. So I think that's the reason why that she went up there.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
sorry to interrupt, but I've been reading a lot.
Yeah.
As you and I've been talking, you've sent me a lot of materials on the case. So your daughter was 9 years old.
That is correct.
And so was it odd for her to take a walk? What time of day was it?
It was actually around 2 to 3 o'clock when she went off, so it was still in the evening. And that day it was kind of like little light rain, but it was warm that day. And she was just bored from her mom was bugging her to go for a walk to go do something, and she let her take the dog for a walk. So that was something that was not uncommon for her to do. So
Right.
This was something just sporadic.
Okay, let's take a look at the house.
Okay.
So here's the house behind you. So this was not your house. You were divorced at the time,
Yes,
correct?
we were divorced at the time.
So Erica would have come out that front door right there
That is
on the
correct.
right side of the screen. Which way did she go?
She ended up heading down this way to Olson Drive with the dog. She's headed out that way.
And then she turned right?
And then she turned right. That is correct.
Okay. So as we're walking up to the corner, and then we're gonna walk drive right over to the rec center. We'll do a
Yes.
combination of the two. It's not a far walk though, but it's a hefty walk. You said.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a drive.
Right.
I mean, a walk for her was probably nothing because
9-year-old?
9 years old, she's full of energy.
Right.
And that's what she was. She was a very high energy child.
That's what I wanted to ask you. What was she like?
Oh man, she was definitely a little tomboy, but she was also a little princess too. So she had a combination of both. And especially having 3 older brothers, she had to fend for herself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg, so where are we?
This is the Kettering Rec Center. This is where we were supposed to do the father-daughter dance in this rec center up here. This is a huge community center. It has a swimming pool. It has an indoor swimming pool, and it has workout equipment, and they play hockey and stuff in there.
Right. So she would come right up this pathway.
Yeah, she would have been right up this pathway here.
So I think now might be a good time to get into possibly what is believed to have happened to her.
Well, from what I understand, that there were 4 individuals that were in a van that was at the Myers up here, and they were boosting, which they were stealing stuff. And from what I understand, one of the Kettering PD showed up there for their normal little visit, and they thought they were there for them, so they scootled out of the shop and went flying. And from what we understand, they ended up over here by the rec center.
And then they think they backed up into her?
Well, they think they came around the corner and ran into her, ran her over.
And that's over here,
Yes.
over near the rec center.
Yes. It's the rec center and school area. She actually went to school over here.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So essentially they think what happened to your daughter is she was hit by...
They were hit by 4 individuals, and all of them, I think, had warrants for their arrest. And they claimed that they were doing drugs and really don't remember the whole thing, which I don't think that's the case. I believe that they know exactly.
I don't think that's something you would forget what you
Yes,
did.
you don't forget.
No matter what
You
kind
don't
of
forget.
haze you're in.
Yes. Now everything is very hazy from here on out. We know that she was hit by the van. Now, we don't know if she spent an amount of time in that van, but they claim that they freaked out and buried her somewhere, which is probably about 15 minutes away from here.
Yeah. First, we're gonna go look at the pond because
Yes.
apparently the pond on the other side. That's on the other side here.
Yes, that's where she was last seen with the dog she was walking, the Shih Tzu.
Now, one question I have is it because you said we're certain she was hit by a van? That's based on their.
That's based on their accounts.
Is there any other suspicion that maybe she was kidnapped?
That was one of the suspicions in that. There was a lot of scenarios on there, and I mean, they had talked to several different people that, the 1 percentile that maybe she was put into sex trafficking, but that is something we don't know yet. That's one of the percentages that we do not know.
Because we're going off the basis of 2 drug addicts, basically, right?
Yes.
And one of them claimed the other
Was driving, and then Gabriel said that Jan Franks was driving his van when they hit Erica.
And Christian Gable is the man.
Is the man that served 6 years of gross abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence.
Even though the body has never been found.
That is correct. The body has never been found.
So we're on the other side. We were over there before, past that
we
hill.
were just over that hill over here on the other side. That is where she would enter the park here.
Right. And behind us is the rec center. That's where the father-daughter dance is going to be held.
This is where the father-daughter dance was going to be held, right up over here. And I believe that's one of the reasons why she even came up this way. She was definitely a little bit upset that we were unable to get the tickets for it.
Right.
So that's why I believe that she even made it up here.
Just kind of maybe she wanted to take a look inside, or what?
Yeah, I think so, or just wanted to see what was going on. I mean, I really don't know what was in her head when she did that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're at the pond, and this is where she was last seen.
Yes. Over there, where the gentleman's on the bicycle, is where she was last seen walking the dog. It wasn't basically her dog, but it was a family dog.
Right.
Yes.
So on the other side of the pond.
That is correct.
Walking that way towards, so she would have been coming towards where we are now?
Yes, she would have been coming this way.
Wow. So this pond here, this is a man-made pond?
Yeah, this is a man-made pond. It was for the park they built for the rec center up here, where families can come out and they can bring their kids and you can go fishing here. So yeah, I mean it's a little good family place.
And who were the last people that saw her?
There was an older couple that was out here actually walking their dog, I do believe, and that's when they spotted her on the back side of the pond over there.
What was she wearing that day?
She was wearing a pink coat and a Winnie the Pooh sweater.
Okay, pink coat. I mean, pink coat, blonde hair, walking a dog, little girl. You're gonna notice by herself.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
So that's a pretty, and they had a very distinct description of her.
Yes.
It was right on.
Yeah, right on.
Right on. So we're going to go to where she was hit, where we believe she was hit, right?
Yes.
But I wanted you to tell me about this pond because you said they drained the pond.
Yes, they did. That was one of the things, and that was one of the issues I had because Erica was she knew how to swim. She learned at a very young age because my parents had a pool, and as my children were very young, they were taught at a very early age to swim just in case they ever did fall in the waters. And that was one of the things that I was really distraught about. I told them, I was like, she's not in there. Because even if she fell in or whatever, she knew how to get up and get out. She used to wade with me in the river, so she understood the dangers of the water. Now, could there have been a percentile? She got knocked out or something? Yeah, she could have been in there, but I knew in my heart she wasn't there.
And but wouldn't this have been frozen over if it was February, or it just happened not to be?
No, it was warm. That was the problem. It was warm that year, and it was just a real thin, light, misty rain that happened, and it was warm enough, kind of like today, being in February, where we got a warm day. It was up in the 50s.
And they drained the pond before they even had any suspects or any clues as to what could have happened to her.
That is correct.
They just immediately said this. If she was last seen here, this would be the logical thing to do.
The excavating companies came out here. They came out here in droves. This whole place was swarmed with people wanting to help find Erica. We had all kinds of law enforcement out here. There was a search team that showed up out here. It's been so long ago, I don't remember exactly where they came out of, but they were out here that evening, and we actually took over the senior place on the inside for a temporarily command center.
Right.
And then we had to eventually move out, and that's when we opened up the Erica Baker Recovery Center.
Right, which is still ongoing?
No, unfortunately we lost funding and we had to shut the doors.
Maybe that's something that can get back. Is that something you would?
I mean, that is something that would be awesome if we could, and and that's something that I may have to look at in the future.
Because you have not stopped. You have not rested, really, right?
No, we may have stopped the search as far as all that, because a lot of our searchers, they stayed with us for a very long time, and they went off doing their own searches after everything was disbanded. And just recently, within the last few years, I have received all the materials from these searchers that they had gathered throughout all the years of searching for Erica, and I finally, a few years ago, had turned them all into the detective.
Now I think as we were discussing off camera earlier, how heartbreaking and distressing. I would imagine, I'm just thinking how maddening it must be for you. Like, you live in the area, live in Kettering still.
Yes.
Do you stop sometimes on the side of the road, or stop somewhere and think, well, maybe was that maybe back 20 years ago, and say, I'm going to look here today?
Yeah, that happened a lot in the very early years of this, and especially when we were running that center. I mean, there's times that we would go out and just on a whim, just go out and start looking.
Right.
I mean, the searches were every day, every weekend, and that happened for quite a long time.
And I know her little Shih Tzu, the family Shih Tzu,
Yes.
was found on its leash walking around where?
Actually, out on the road out here past the school system here, actually on the backside. That's where they were picked up by the dog pound.
And then the dog was returned to your ex-wife?
Yes, they were called the very next day. So, and that happened somewhere between 3 and 3:30. So that window there, I mean, if they were able to contact us, because the dog had tags, and if they would have contacted us right away, then we would have known immediately something happened. But it didn't happen till later on that day.
So she left the house at 2 o'clock, roughly.
It was like roughly 2 or 2:30.
An hour later, the dog's found without Erica.
Yes, that is right.
So that's an hour.
Yes.
And it's a 5-minute walk. I mean, it must have happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And broad daylight.
Yeah, broad daylight. Broad daylight. You know, like I said, it was a cloudy day though, but it was broad daylight, and there were still people out everywhere.
And her school is just above the hill there, right there.
Yes.
Let's go over and take a look at where I believe she was hit.
Okay.
All right, Greg, so where are we now?
Now we're at the back behind of the elementary school where Erica actually attended school.
Right.
Supposedly, through a lot of tips and with the people themselves, they said that they actually came around the corner over here, and Erica was hit somewhere along this area here.
Because there's a road that goes right through the back. So you think the pond's right there.
Yes.
There's that hill that we first were at.
Yes.
So she walked from the pond along the back of the school?
Along the back of the school, and then came up through here. Now, like I said...
She would have known her area? She would have known?
Yeah, very familiar with everything around here, because this is where she pretty much lived for quite a while.
So these two people that were in the car, they claim that we've seen the confession sheet that the one guy wrote out.
Yes.
His name is...
Christian Gabriel.
Now, he says that they just backed up into her, or...
Actually, they came around the corner and hit her and didn't see her.
Didn't see her.
Yeah, they were moving pretty fast because it was on a Sunday. Of course, school's not in session, so there's nobody out here.
Right.
The Myers is just right around the corner down here, and like I said, they were in there. And actually, there were 4 of them that was in the van. There was several of them. There was Christian Gabriel, Jan Frakes, and I do believe it was Clifford Butts, and I believe his wife at the time.
Right.
Yes.
So they're doing something sketchy and suspicious here, and the cops come, they try to drive away so the cops can't see them.
That is correct. They were they were boosting at Myers, and then they thought the cops were there for them, and I guess it spooked them, and so they ran and got in their van, and I guess they'd already had some stolen merchandise in the vehicle, that is hearsay, as far as I say, and then they got scared and then ended up over here somehow.
So they hit your daughter.
Yes.
One of them gets out.
Yes.
And that's Christian.
And then I guess they put Erica in the van. Now from there, everything is we really don't know what happened from there.
Never fails. It's okay. Uh-oh.
Here comes another one.
We got company. How you doing? So Greg, we're trying to escape the wind and the dogs.
Yes.
Okay, so Jan, the woman that was in the car, she was the girlfriend of the driver, Christian.
Yes, at that point in time. She was, I know how a lot of things come about. In the very early days, we had gotten the tip in the van in our early opening of our center, and it was kind of overlooked. Jan actually was picked up out here in Kettering, screaming that about Erica, saying that she was involved, and I guess Kettering came and picked her up. and then
Kettering PD.
Kettering Police Department picked her up, and she was actually scheduled to go under hypnosis, and then unfortunately we got the news that just before she was supposed to go under that hypnosis that she died of a drug overdose in a homeless shelter.
Right. Which is there are suspicions
that she was OD'd to be quiet, but that has not been yet confirmed.
Now let me ask you something. There's basically, it's going off the story of this lady. She's the one, they picked her up and she confessed to it. She said that he drove, and then he signed a confession.
Yes.
Saying he did this, but he's taken police to various places where he says the body was, but he's never definitively said it. Then he served 6 years.
Yes, of gross abuse of courts and tampering with evidence. That's what they had. That was the only thing that they could get him on because time was running out, and the statute of limitations for that was coming up, and he was finally convicted of that.
So if he were to tell you today, we think he's down in Florida, maybe?
No, actually, he is out west.
Oh.
I heard that he was maybe in Oregon is where I believe it was.
He could easily tell you and your family where exactly they left your daughter, but he won't.
Well, here's the deal. Unbeknownst to me, because they really didn't want me to know because of everything going down with Gabriel, just before he was released, my ex-mother-in-law was actually writing letters to Gabriel in prison, and they set up a meeting for him when he was released so that way Pam could pick him up and take him to his parents. And of course they didn't want me to know because of what would probably transpire with that happening. So, but unfortunately, it was a shock to the community. It came on air. I was actually in a patient's house at that time. I was in the medical field, and I kind of lost my mind when I seen that because it was not known to me what was going on. But unfortunately, nothing ever came out of it.
Why? Can he be charged? Like, if he were to tell you now, can he be charged again?
Well, if it finds out that he was driving the van, it would be, I guess, vehicular homicide, I guess would be.
His statute of limitations has not run out on that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, and anything like that, I don't think there is a statute. But, like I said, please don't quote me. This has been a very long time in coming with everything.
Yeah. Okay, Greg, this is called
Huffman Dam.
Huffman Dam.
Yes.
Now, about 15-minute drive from the school and from where your daughter was last seen.
Yes.
And we're in what's this called?
It was past, and we passed Riverside.
Riverside.
And so I believe this is kind of Dayton, Riverside area.
Right. And we passed a lot of wetlands, a lot of forests, a few.
Yeah.
And you said that you had search parties out all throughout there. I mean, it's never ending.
It was never ending. I mean, we pretty much basically tore up Dayton. I mean, it's not only here that we went to, but in Moraine, there was a park out by the air park that we tore up out there. We used ground penetrating radar. There's other little side ponds that the police departments actually went to. There was a place they searched up here in Enon, Ohio called Enon Beach.
Right. And you pointed out, like, off the side of the road, you said we searched that forested area, it's like
it was never ending.
A needle in a haystack.
Pretty much, but we did cover a lot of Dayton.
Now, why are we here at this specific location?
Well, this is where Kristen Gabriel says that they had brought Erica's remains to, and
put her in the water.
They said they buried her by the water.
Right. Okay. So we do have a clip of that.
Yes, we do.
Of the police taking him, and then when he's here, almost exactly where we're standing, right? Right around here.
Pretty close to it. Yes.
Right around here. He decides not to tell them.
No, he says that he thinks it's a trap, and that was his own words.
Yeah, I've been telling you what I've been telling you all day.
And you're going to stick with that, knowing what we just told you is true.
This is just a trap.
What?
This is just a trap.
This was a trap?
Yeah.
Why? No one's trapping you.
Why? Well, the police were taking him because he said, "I will show you where
Yes.
we did it."
Yes.
And then when he gets here, he reneges on the deal and
Yes,
says no.
he starts recanting everything that he said. He goes, "Oh, this is a trap," and so this is where all the speculations come in, and this is where we're unclear on a lot of things.
In there I'm going to assume, I'm not afraid to say it, but I'm assuming when they hit your daughter, they were probably very high.
Yes.
So in their drug-induced stupor, taking your daughter here, the memory, he wouldn't even know probably exactly. Maybe he does, but
yeah,
he could say, he could just be leading them on a wild goose chase each time, right?
pretty much. And I mean, that's what it's kind of, it's boiled down to.
We just want to find that girl.
Man, I know you do.
And we want to validate your story.
And I'm trying everything I can to help you. Like I said, I was trashed that night, man. I was
No one's doubting that. No
You'd
one's
have to be, to what all transpired, you'd have to be
So
trashed.
has all this area been searched?
Yes, this place has been torn up. Matter of fact, EquuSearch out of Texas came here,
Right.
and they did 2 searches, I believe, out here. So yes, I mean,
What kind of search do they do?
They did ground searches. They actually were looking for certain areas. They did recover some bones in the very early stages of them coming out here, but it ended up just being animal bones.
Right.
Yeah.
She done nationwide, like to get the word out. You've been on
yeah.
Oprah.
I've been on Oprah. I've been on, I think she's been on Montel and Maury and America's Most Wanted, and I believe 48 Hours that we were on. I mean, yes, we did a nationwide thing, but a lot of that is out there, and a lot of people see that. But the reason why that I'm coming to you is because a lot of people don't watch the mainstream, and there's a lot of people that don't watch that main news and doesn't see a lot of things, and that's why I want to appeal to those people that watch YouTube and follow your programs. There might be somebody out there that might have actually seen something in this area, and it may click with them and say,
Right.
"Oh, hey, I seen this."
Right. And you can, I mean, it's been 24 years, right?
Yeah.
24 years, but you can still, your memory can be jogged. Your
Oh,
memory
yeah.
can be jogged. And this was a huge story in Dayton
Yes,
for a long time.
for a
And
very
it's still
long time.
ongoing each year. That's
Yes.
your daughter's
The
remembered.
case has never been closed.
Right. And we are going to be visiting the grave of your daughter.
That is correct.
And of course, I know right away when I say that, people are going to question. They're going to say, "What do you mean, the grave?" Well, lots of times.
You have to have a place to come and mourn, and and of course, a lot of people's not want to walk out into the woods or be wherever she's at. So the family decided to go ahead and give her a headstone. That way, if we ever did recover her remains, that we would have a place to put her to rest.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. But first, before we go to the grave, we're going to talk to the detective who's leading. He's in charge of the case?
Yes, now he's in charge of the case. He's a new cold case detective that come in. The old detective that they had for the cold case, Detective Green, he retired. Then another detective took over. He got promoted, and now this new detective's coming in to have a new fresh eyes on the case.
And I believe we both agree that he probably has the best detective name we've ever heard.
Yes.
What is it?
Yes, Matt Wolf.
Detective Matt Wolf. Let's go.
All right.
So this is Detective Matt Wolf here at Kettering Police Department, and you're working on the case.
Correct, yes.
And what is the state of the case? Greg, you're right beside me, just so people know. Say hi, Greg.
Hello.
You've taken over the case when?
I took over January 1st. The previous detective was promoted, so he got promoted out of the detective section. So the way our cases work here, they have to be assigned to someone. So my lieutenant assigned it to me, and I got it January 1st.
Now you have as someone that does. You have a lot of cases you're working on.
Yes.
You yourself.
Correct.
Now, and I was reading about this case. It's not a cold case. It's an active case, correct? Was there a different? What's the difference here?
It's not. It's active. It's assigned to me. It's open. It's still investigated like any other case that's assigned to me. Yes.
So what makes something a cold case?
Just classification.
Right.
I've been surprised even since January at how many tips still come in.
Right.
Now, I know February 7th was obviously an anniversary, so I expected the tips to come in more frequently around February, but really since the beginning of the year, maybe probably not once a week, but probably every other week, I'll get a phone call.
And what do you think? What are your hunches? Aside from Greg, Mr. Baker beside me, you must know this case in and out from just reading about it.
I have a pretty good relationship with the two previous detectives.
Right.
The first one that was assigned the case is Bob Green. Bob's a personal friend of mine. We live in the same neighborhood. His kids babysat my kids.
Right.
And then Vince Mason, who had it second. I got hired a little bit before he did, but our careers kind of mirrored each other, so I know Vince well. So like these tips, for instance, Bob Green, who had it first, knows the case inside out, forward, backwards, every angle on it. So these tips would come in, and I've been fortunate enough to have access to Bob. He's still in the area here.
Right.
And I call him and say, hey, has this been looked into? And he'll say, yes. Or, nope, look into that here. My worry for here soon, I don't know how much longer Bob has in law enforcement. I don't know how long he's going to be in the area. And if this case were to go past me, then I'm worried about another detective not having that access to Bob and being able to find stuff. The way the report is now, it's all on paper because it's 24 years old. If I didn't have access to Bob and these tips would come in, it would just be, I think, too time consuming to look into every tip that comes in because some of it's been looked into already.
Right.
So my immediate goal is to get this case digitized. So it's on a computer. So if someone calls in and says, "Hey, I think Matt Wolf is involved," I can put in Matt Wolf into the computer, look and see that Bob already looked into Matt Wolf. Everything's good with Matt Wolf. That's not a tip that you need to follow up on.
Right.
So that's my immediate goal.
Now, do you think? I don't know if you're allowed to say, as a police officer yourself, as a detective. We've talked about Christian.
Gabriel.
Right. Christian. What was his last name?
Gabriel.
Christian Gabriel. You know the name.
Yes, very well.
Do we think that is where the answers lie?
Several people have several different views on that.
Right.
I don't know Christian well enough. I do know that if someone is alive that has information, it's going to be Christian Gabriel.
Really?
Wow. Listening to the stories and reading some of the reports on where I am, the possibility exists that he was so high, he really has no clue.
That's what we were saying by the water, right?
Yeah.
That's what Greg and I were saying. That I think it. I mean, as a complete non-detective, I think he was so high that he wouldn't remember exactly what happened or where he put her.
There are tapes of interviews and stuff, but again, I've never talked to him myself. I haven't met him. I don't really have a.
Now, if you find out, if her body's discovered by somebody else, or you get a tip and you find her body, what is the statute of limitations for Christian Gabriel?
It depends on what crime you're talking about.
Well,
so like he's already been convicted of
tampering
with evidence and gross abuse of a corpse, but like the actual criminal offense of how death may have occurred, there is no statute of limitations.
Really? So if it's a hit and run, he can serve time for manslaughter. Still, you're saying, right to say, if it was, say for instance, which doesn't seem like it was, deliberate. I mean, he could be charged with second degree, first degree. There's still that possibility is wide open.
Correct.
And another thing that Greg and I were talking about, has it been 100%, is it ruled out that it's not a stranger kidnapping or murder of a young girl?
It's still an active investigation.
Right.
I will tell you that some of the things that Christian Gabriel wrote in a witness statement to the crimes that he's already been convicted of would lead you to believe that he was involved in.
Because why would he write? I saw the statement. Why would he write that out?
Correct. Exactly.
Why?
Again, I haven't met him, so
Right.
some people think, yeah, he knows and he's just fearful, and some people think that he was just so gorked out of his mind on whatever the world he was taking. He doesn't remember. I don't have an opinion on that quite yet.
Yeah. Do you think that there will be a break in the case? Do you think Erica's body will be found?
Yes.
Really? That was very definitive. Your answer. You think you're going to find her?
I think, me personally,
Well, somebody.
I think sometime someone was going to be able to bring her home. My hope is that it's sometime soon, obviously.
Yeah.
But I know it's been 24 years already. I know that Grandma, Mrs. Schmidt's getting a little older. My goal is one day, because I've thought about it. Tip comes in, it's a good tip. We think she's found. I'm gonna call Vince Mason. I'm gonna let Vince Mason call Bob Green, and then my hope is Bob can contact the family, because I know Bob's
Quite invested.
oh
So,
yes,
right.
like you have you have no idea.
I mean, it becomes it's
It's part of his life.
Right.
Everyday life.
Well, and for you as well. I mean, being a detective, not just this case, it doesn't end when you leave your desk and you go home.
Some cases are like that, and
Right.
quite honestly, some cases we're able to leave here.
Right.
But some of the ones that hit you a little harder, you carry around with you.
Yeah, a 9-year-old girl
Oh, yes.
missing is one that's especially for you as
And I'll tell
a
you,
parent.
personally, at the time, my father was a Kettering policeman, and at the time of Erica's disappearance, he was the lieutenant in charge of the detective section.
Oh wow!
So my family has a personal connection to this as well.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, detective.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. And Greg, we were just talking. We're here with the detective, and your ex-mother-in-law picked up Christian Gabriel from prison when he was released.
That is correct. And the reason why is that she had been writing letters to him to try to get him to kind of get in confident with him in order to have him actually tell us what had happened, just straight out, and to put it to rest to where we could locate her body. But unfortunately, that was something that did not work out.
But she did pick him up, and she said she had a shovel.
Yep, she had a shovel in there in the back of her car, but like she said, she sometimes wished things happen.
He wouldn't. He agreed to be picked up by her, but he wouldn't say anything.
No,
So she just dropped him off later that day.
I believe it with his mother and father. I believe is how that worked.
Wow. Do you come out here? You live pretty close.
It just depends, because I usually come out here sometimes before her anniversary, because I do know people do come out here on the anniversary. You know, her gravesite is out here for our family, also for the public to come, a place to mourn and talk to Erica. You know, we know that she's not there, but it is a place for her if we ever do get to recover her.
Okay, Mr. Baker, so I think everybody knows where we are now.
Yeah.
You're going to take me over to Erica's
Yep.
potential final resting place,
Right over
we should call it. Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes, it is here. I mean, this is, she loved butterflies, and that's what we ended up having the stone made. And it's an actual very nice stone, and
Yeah.
he did an awesome job on it.
So it reads Baker, daughter Erica Nicole, June 22nd, 1989. Mother Melissa Misty, and missing. Look at this. Look at all the people that come out here. This is
Yes.
just people, right?
Yeah, this is just people and family members that also come out here.
Yeah.
I did not know somebody came out here and put her a little Valentine's wreath out here.
Yeah. Already. Yeah, that's
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
It's a lot. This is a beautiful, beautiful stone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the wind chimes, do you think are those here for Erica, or are there somebody else?
I think they might be here for somebody else, but which it's kind of serene hearing the chimes. I mean, it kind of still gives a little music to some somberness here.
Right.
Yes.
And I think we should clarify, because again, it'll be something I'm asked about in the comments, even if they've watched all the way through, which I hope everybody has.
Yeah.
Erica's not here.
No, she's not. Her body is not here, but this gravesite was put here not only for our family, but the community that had mourned. Erica had become the community's daughter, and you know, the outreach and the pouring of all the people, I mean, not here but far wide, has been unreal.
Right.
And through the efforts and donations of that, this is the gravesite that we ended up getting for Erica. You know, this is for people that wants to come out here and they want to say their prayer or whatever they want to do to come out here to remember her. And I think it's very awesome.
So I have a couple of questions to end the video, and they're going to be somewhat basic questions and maybe come across, I don't even want to say the word harsh, but just blunt questions that I think people would want to know the answer, because you are the father of a missing child.
Yes.
That is one of the most horrifying things anybody can think about going through.
Oh, yeah.
We all watch true crime shows or documentaries. You've lived this.
Yes.
Have you given up hope that she's alive?
There's always that 1 percentile.
You
that
still think-
always that you think that maybe there might have something that actually happened differently. And yeah, I guess you do grasp onto that small hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still there in you.
It's still there in me.
Right.
And I think it's there in our family too. But like I said, it's not over till it's over.
And the other question I had is, when we read about missing children or children that have been taken
Yes.
and murdered,
Yes.
etc., you know, parents say it's the worst possible thing you can go through, and then everybody that thinks it's the worst. What is it like to have a missing child?
It is horrific, and it's sleepless nights, and it's everything that you could even imagine being a nightmare. I mean,
Yeah.
it tears at your soul. I mean, there's a piece of you that is now gone that'll never return, and it kind of makes you dead inside in some areas.
Okay, Greg, Mr. Baker, thank you for inviting me out here.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, Scott, for coming here. You just don't know what it means to me, my family, and my daughter. I mean, I've seen some of your stuff, and I was very impressed, and that's why I wanted to get a hold of you.
Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned my video on Emmanuel Jacques and
Yes.
the little Toronto shoeshine boy, and
Yeah.
anything when it comes to little kids, it's heartbreaking. And your daughter, 9 years old.
Yeah, 9 years old. She would have been 10 that June, but she never made it.
Well, if anybody is watching this and knows anything or remembers anything, contact Kettering Police Department, right?
In Kettering, Ohio, that is correct.
Kettering, Ohio. And that's, we hope
We hope something comes out of this. You know, we've had a lot of years go by, but you never know. It just takes that one person.
it's going to be, and if she's found, her remains are found,
Yes.
it'll be some sort of closure, but it's never going to be over for you.
No, it never will be. Because there's a part of you are just gone, and it's just never going to return. There's going to be no grandkids. There's going to be no wedding. There was no graduations. There was no nothing.
No career.
No
What did Erica want to be? What was her dream as a 9-year-old?
At that point in time, she
There's a million things.
Not really anything that she wanted to do, but she was a very diverse child. I mean, she was an outdoorsman. I mean, she was a little tom girl, and she was also a little princess too.
Right, and she could be any. She could be.
Anything.
She could be any. She could have been anything.
Yep. You know, like the old song goes, you know, what would you be today? You know.
Well,
I just don't know.
let's hope something. Maybe, and you can have some sort of.
Yeah.
We can find her.
Scott, thank you so much, buddy.
You're welcome,
Thank
Greg.
you.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out. Thanks, Greg.
Okay.